Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. For a long time, I've heard you tell me the Indians are only good because of the division they're in. Did anybody stay up late last night to see the Tribe play in Seattle? As far as my Rand McNally map is concerned, Seattle is on the West Coast, not in the Midwest. I saw Seattle give up 2 runs in the 8th inning on 4 walks, a wild pitch, and a hit batsman in one of the worst displays of baseball ever. 2 runs without putting the ball in play. Even as a diehard Indians fan, I find it hard to watch. And when the Indians wrap their things up in the postseason, I don't want any detractors to say anything about the division. I just hope it can be clinched when they play in the East or the Central time zone. I need my sleep. Bud Shaw is here. More sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year, and of course seen exclusively on cleveland.com, which is where we find Bud Shaw tonight when he's not on WKYC.com, where we actually saw you with Jim Donovan last night.
Well, you know, I would like to thank the people at cleveland.com for welcoming me back with that promo, that intro with the headline that said Return of the King. That was a very nice gesture on their part.
Good night, everybody.
That wasn't
King part
about me?
No, I believe it was LeBron James. Maybe not.
I see.
Are you staying away from...
I promise the jokes will get worse.
Are you staying away from watching the NBA playoffs because LeBron is not involved this year?
No, I'm very interested in how some of these things turn out. I was stunned to wake up and find out that the Warriors had blown a 31-point lead and lost a game to the Clippers.
That's too bad.
Listen, I know that you're a Cleveland fan, born and raised,
yes,
and that you have a rooting interest in some of this stuff.
Not so much.
But you have to at least appreciate the brand of basketball they play, don't you?
Who, Golden State?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's something
You don't appreciate the fact that they stacked a team with Kevin Durant, but the actual style of play is fun to watch.
Style of play is fun to watch. I don't know that you could duplicate it with any other team. I mean, if you try to run that offense, if you put Steve Kerr on some other team, they'd lose an awful lot of games.
I think he wouldn't do that on some other team.
Oh.
60 Minutes, I don't know if people watched it, but 60 Minutes did a segment on the Warriors.
Right.
And he admitted that he had to stop thinking the way he normally thought about basketball when he took over this team, because he watched Steph Curry dribbling in a game, and he compared it to like a Curly Neal act. And
For those who don't know, that's the Globetrotters.
And he was up getting ready. He was standing there like this, like, what are you doing? And Curry turned from 33 feet away and hit a 3 and ran down, and Kerr sat down and said, okay,
well, it's not like
maybe I need to think
it's not like you didn't see that in practice.
No, but he's like, if he's going to do this stuff in a game, maybe I need to reevaluate the way I look at this.
I mean, I've always wondered this about Babe Ruth. You know, he was a great pitcher, and then he gets traded to the Yankees, and they let him bat. What, they didn't see him in batting practice that he could hit 500-foot bombs?
Well, look at your career. I'm sure some people didn't see your greatness right off the bat. How was that? Anybody buying that out there?
I was a great, I did very well pinning diapers up. I did that well. But there was no call for that.
We all have something that we're world class in. That's what I believe to be true.
And yours is?
I'd have to say eating potato chips. I don't think anybody could eat
more
than
you weren't
me.
here. Andy Basson was here. Have you noticed, Bud and I have what's the word we would call for what we have for potato chips?
A problem.
We have a problem with potato chips. But what bothers me most, I want to get the job of the guy who takes the potato chips when they're putting them in bags or whatever they're doing, and they measure out to make sure there's only like 12% of potato chips in the bag because of the air that's all in there. The guy who puts the air in there, that's the guy with the best job in the world.
That's I've copied my columns after that. You know, people
supposed to do
they start to
words.
read it thinking that it's going to be full of
right.
information. It's really only about 12% full.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. Bud Shaw from WKYC.com is with us. I've done my opening comment. Time for Bud to give his.
Well, thanks, Les.
In a minute.
You mean get it finished in a minute?
No, put the notes up there in a minute.
All right. Okay, here we go. Tiger Woods now has 15 wins in majors, which is 3 short of Jack Nicklaus's record. Woods is 43, which also makes him 3 short of Nicklaus's age when the Golden Bear won his final major at the 1986 Masters. It's easy to be a prisoner of the moment and say Woods, who won in Augusta on Sunday, is primed to surpass Nicklaus's record now. The chase will be fun to watch, no doubt. The drumbeat will pick up over the next 3 months when Woods plays the PGA in May at Bethpage Black, the U.S. Open in June at Pebble Beach, and the British in July in Ireland. But Augusta, to me, was the most likely place for Woods to win. I wouldn't bet on him surpassing Nicklaus because most golfers don't remain great putters in their 40s. Only one, Julius Boros, won multiple majors after the age of 43. But the intrigue is back where Woods is concerned, and that can only be great for golf.
On Sunday afternoon, thinking about what he did when it was over and what he did, which was phenomenal. Before he did it, I'm saying 4 is an awful lot for him to overcome. When he made it, and you could actually see it in print or on the internet or whatever, all of a sudden I'm thinking, you know what, 3 isn't that many.
No, not for the greatest player of all time. It probably isn't. But, you know, that was a course that he knew better than any other course that he's ever played. I mean, that's his favorite place to play. It's not punishing to miss the fairways there, although he didn't miss many.
No.
And he's not in that category, that statistic of putts between, 6 and 12 feet or whatever it is. He's only ranking like 140th or something on tour. He's not that guy who used to make every big putt he looked at. I think he was the greatest clutch putter in the history of golf. I don't think he is that anymore.
Did I read it right that he was 199th in length of drives? Is that
yeah,
possible?
And some of that can be a little misleading because we saw, for instance, on some of those holes the other day, Les, where he's matched up against Molinari, who's one of the shorter hitters on tour, and he's purposely taking clubs that leave him 30 yards behind Molinari. So he was really obsessed with getting the ball in the fairway and hitting greens because his iron game is like next to none.
The other thing, and they had mentioned it on the radio coverage, which I listened to for a little bit, I had to be out, that the swagger seemed to be back, according to these announcers, because when they would get up to the green, and Tiger, if there wasn't a necessity to mark the ball, he didn't. He left the ball out there, which could be seen by the guy putting as opposed to maybe a marker. And it's the Tiger.
I didn't notice that, but I will say that I thought his demeanor again was that, if you want to call it quiet confidence, yeah. It was when he, on 15, when he makes he birdies, and I believe Molinari, that's the hole where he hits it into the water, it hits a tree, and it goes into the water, and he doubles. It gave him a 2-shot lead, and you just knew then that no matter what happened, 16, 17, 18, that he was not going to let it get away. It was the first time he's won a major in which he trailed going into the final round.
It's hard to believe.
It really is hard to believe. It shows you how dominant he was, I guess, that he had leads in most of those.
So the question that begs to be asked, does he tie, does he beat Nicklaus, or does he fall short?
I mean, physically, that was the number one reason to the number one reason to pick against him. It was because of what he could do, or because of what happened to him in the back surgery department. So he went, a surgery in 2014, 2 in 15, another one in 17. It was hard to believe that he was ever going to get back to being the guy who could just let it loose and play again. Now it looks like he can do that. So I think his chances have improved. I just think to beat Jack means winning 4 more after the age of 43. Nobody's ever come close to
and the
doing
competition looks to be better.
It is. I mean, Jack Nicklaus finished second 19 times. He won 18 majors and finished second 19 times. Tiger has finished second in majors 6 times, and I think part of that is because the fields are just deeper now.
Right. Nicklaus also, when he won at, 46?
46 years old, yep.
He didn't look like he was in great shape. Tiger should be in phenomenal shape.
He is in phenomenal shape. That I was lucky enough to be at that Masters in 1986 working for the Atlanta paper. And it was, I don't think you'll ever see that kind of play from him again because he shot 30 on the back nine in that tournament.
Nicholas did?
To win that tournament. He shot 30. I mean, that's what it took for him to win. And
that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, and that wasn't so. At least Tiger can look and say, "I played well." Probably not his A game,
right?
Throughout, but he played very well.
Was there any thought in your mind he needed it? He needed a bogey on the last hole, and he left it. He went a little bit long. Were you thinking he may blow this?
Yeah, I mean, I had my heart was in my throat a little bit because I don't like to see any. It wasn't just for Woods or whether he won or not. I don't like to see any of those guys miss those short putts that cost them a major. Right. It feels
whoever
like
it was.
Yeah, whoever it was.
Yeah.
But I knew when he rolled it past and he had an uphill putt coming back that 98% sure he was going to make it.
Yeah, and I thought he went right up and hit it instead of standing over it forever and thinking about it and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal day. And one of the things that jumped out at me too, Les, is that the first time around with him, he didn't react that way to winning. I mean, maybe because he won more often, I get it.
Right.
But he also didn't let people in. He didn't let people see his real emotions. He didn't share it with the crowd.
Wouldn't have had his two kids there?
No, and we've seen that iconic picture kind of him hugging his dad in 1997. He didn't have kids at the time, so maybe he would have, but he just didn't. From a fan standpoint, you saw him walking around and he was slapping five and he was looking at people in the gallery. So you can tell that he had fallen so far in his career. Part of it, obviously, a self-destruction. That you could tell how much it meant to him to get back.
And he also got a resurgence in popularity. I mean, he lost a lot of people over the years.
He did.
I think most of them have come back.
Yeah, and I think seeing him react the way he did will get more people, maybe rooting for him who weren't really rooting for him.
Final question: was that a bigger win for Tiger or a bigger win for the game of golf, or about even?
I think about even. A friend of mine who I trust his judgment on this because he's been to 50 Masters. Or 42 Masters, said that he still ranked this behind Jack winning in '86. I'm not sure about that.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Indians a winner last night. They're back in Seattle tonight, and the road trip coming to an end. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about linebacker for the Cleveland Browns. Can they improve with the draft or signing somebody, or do they think it's a problem at all? We'll do that. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/moresports, and Les Levine with new content posted each and every day. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment. You're seeing More Sports and Les Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today. Paul Wainer, was that Big Train, or what was Paul Wainer back in the old days, turn of the century? Dick Night Train Lane, which is one of the great nicknames. Bodacious, 1947. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, seen on the left. Bill Belichick, born on this date in 1952. And Lou Aldang, former Cavalier, 1982.
That's a pretty prestigious list.
Not bad. Dick Night Train Lane, a Hall of Famer.
Not you, Bodacious. I mean the rest of them.
No, I was thinking about, we'll get to the linebackers in a second, thinking about LeBron James and his legacy and all that stuff. he's just to be one of the best Lakers of all time. He's got like 5 guys. It's questionable whether he can jump.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about Kareem. You're talking about Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Kobe.
Yeah. And Kobe's not that he's an afterthought, but I don't know that he's in the top 2 or 3 on that list.
Right. So I wonder now if LeBron James plays 3, 4, 5 more years and he gets close, do the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fans come out of the woodwork and boo him as he sets the all-time record?
I wouldn't put anything against fans these days.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us. Bud, linebackers, if anything, you look at the different units of the Cleveland Browns. The linebacker one is the one to me that seems the weakest.
Yeah, I think they need help outside. Obviously, they get a lot of pass rush out of Myles Garrett, and that helps from the defensive end position. But they really need something from the linebacker position as far as pass pressure and also pass coverage. Avery's not the greatest in pass coverage. He's been a good find for them in the draft, and certainly Schobert's a good player.
Well, you had Greg Williams, of course, as your defensive coordinator, but they finished 30th in total defense. The defense did 25th in pass defense, 257 yards per game, and 28th in rush defense. All in all, that's not real good. Pro Football Focus says Joe Schobert ranked first in missed tackles, and he missed 3 games due to injury, due to that hamstring. Jamie Collins, who's not with him anymore, was 4th. Christian Kirksey missed 9 games last season due to the hamstring injury. On the other hand, by the time they draft, they don't have any star potential linebackers out there. Right now, the current linebackers, the roster, Joe Schobert, along with Jannard Avery, Ray Armstrong, great name there, Christian Kirksey, Darius Taylor, and Xavier Woodson Luster.
Well, I'll say this about Schobert. In order to be charged with a missed tackle, you have to get in position to make the tackle.
You have to be there.
Yeah, it's kind of like
an error in baseball.
Yeah, you make an error in baseball. If you don't have the range to get near the ball, you never make an error. So, I still like Schobert a lot. I think he's a good player and somebody that they don't want to lose, that they want to build around here.
There are some draft options. Let's take a look at those. You've got Vashawn Joseph from Florida, and you can see the numbers right there. In tackles, he's 6'1", he's 230, 93 tackles, 9 for losses, and 4 sacks in 2018. And his career, 161 tackles, and that's 14 for losses, and that's in 3 years at Florida. We continue on. Terrell Hanks. Hanks from New Mexico State, 6'2", 242, 101 tackles, 9 for loss, 1 sack in 2018. Total of 391 tackles in his career in 4 years at New Mexico State. And then there's Jermaine Pratt, and Jermaine Pratt from North Carolina State, 104 tackles, 10 for losses, 235 tackles in his career, 17 for losses. First team All-ACC in 2018. I think all 3 of these guys, Bud, I think they're all going to be available by the time the Browns draft, if they don't change up and trade up or down.
They could always move up. I mean, look, everything Dorsey's done this offseason and during the 2 years that he's been here has been aggressive. So
right.
It wouldn't surprise me if they decided to do that.
Knowing or watching Dorsey as we have, and he's got kind of itchy fingers, looking for the phone or waiting for people to call him, I've got to assume there's some trade somewhere. Maybe not major, but maybe the first day something.
Yeah, I mean, they have, I think they have 8 picks remaining. They've gone through a couple years where they've had 10 or 11 picks in these drafts. They still need some people, but you obviously, he saw them go through a scenario where they were too young to even compete in this league. So I don't know that he's looking to add 8 more rookies. So I wouldn't surprise me if he traded some of these guys.
Well, the discussion today in sports radio land was the actual schedule coming out tomorrow. Mm-hmm. The question is that a big deal or not a big deal? You knew who they were going to play. You knew where they were going to play them. The only thing I don't like is now I don't know if it's news leaking or if it's just done for argument's sake. I really don't want to see Cleveland playing at New England game 1.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that, Les. Some people believe the Patriots are easier to beat early in the season if you look at their record over the last couple years. But I think that's I think that they're going to probably open up. I think the Odell Beckham tweet from a couple weeks ago now
about playing the Jets
makes sense to me. Yeah, you open up against the Jets. Is it the 50th year of Monday Night Football, which was a Jets-Browns game, and you have a couple of great storylines there with Darnold and Baker Mayfield, with Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens. Odell Beckham going back to New York.
Right.
Sheldon Richardson played with the Jets. So I think it could be a fun game on a Monday night. And then I think that you're going to see them play 3 or 4 more, maybe 3 more in prime time.
Well, you've got the Thursday that has to be.
Yeah, and then a Sunday night.
Right.
I wouldn't doubt there'd be a Sunday night game. Now, whether that's going to be when the Rams come to town, which would be a pretty attractive game, Seattle would be coming in, or a more traditional rival, playing either Baltimore or Pittsburgh on those games.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. When we come back, we'll check out our Facebook question of the day. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday evening with the post time of 6 p.m. Open early every day for simulcast action. The Road to the Derby contest, the final one coming up this weekend. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment. More sports and Les Levine, exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Nature Stone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Nature Stone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Nature Stone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of April and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
But it's time for a How Come Quickie. How come when Bob Feller pitched his no-hitter on opening day in 1940, every batter had the same batting average before and after the game?
They're called quickies, sir.
Well, yeah, that's true. I got somebody mad at me because I
wonder
them.
how long that game took. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, how about this? It was
Probably
on,
an
what is
hour
today's
56.
date? What is today, the 16th?
16th of April.
The Indians have played in their season, this going on their what are they, 11-9 right now? Whatever it is. No, I think it's their 17th game tonight.
Yeah, they're 9-7, I believe.
9-7.
Yeah.
All right, so tonight's their 17th game, and in 1940, game 1 was today.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It is. 216-575-0403. We've got a Facebook question of the day, and that question deals with, what does it deal with? Oh, what do opponents have to do to stop the Browns? Do they just put a blanket on Baker Mayfield? Do they watch Odell Beckham? Do they watch do they worry about the defense? What do you have if you're game 1's opposing coach? What's your biggest fear?
Early down passing. That seemed to be Todd Monken's, I don't want to say specialty, but that's the way he was.
All right, so the defense should try to shut it down before it gets started.
I think you're going to see a lot of Baker Mayfield either in shotgun or dropping back on first down and throwing and really starting to put defenses on their heels. So.
All right, that's the question of the day on Facebook. We also talked about the offensive ranking of the team, but first let's take a look at what some of the people responded to.
Yeah, kind of what I just suggested.
Yeah.
Not down specific, but same idea.
Rick Mace has put pressure on Baker Mayfield, forced him to speed up his search for a secondary receiver. Receivers will have to sense wind to extend their routes and give Baker the extra second he needs to make positive yardage. Glenn Berger says Baker Mayfield in the Browns passing game, the opponents will have to pressure Mayfield and take away the wide receivers with a press passing defense. Michael Galandiak, if you stop Baker, you stop the Browns. Dennis Davis says slow down Baker with pressure up the middle. Carl Brunstetter, the old adage is if you stop the running game, you can control the offense. They're all not wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the offensive situation. Individual rankings last year, Baker Mayfield, who of course did not start the first couple of games, 11th in TD passing. Nick Chubb was 10th in rushing yards, had over 1,000, then lost a couple of yards to make it 996. And Odell Beckham, who was with the Giants, was 9th in yards per game. Pretty impressive. So a lot of things to stop.
Playing with an aging quarterback and who was under a lot of pressure, that's pretty good numbers for Beckham.
Well, if it is going to be the Browns at the Jets and Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator last year, who's going to know that team better than him, except for Beckham?
Yeah, for sure. I thought to a fault Greg Williams blitzed last year too much.
Okay.
And he left for a secondary that was not the greatest and was missing Denzel Ward a few games. I think if he does has the same approach against this team, I think this could be a big offensive game for the Browns.
Yeah, I think if he puts his defensive backfield 30, 40 yards back, Baker will just have a field day.
Yeah. Well, we saw when they played Peppers back there.
Yeah.
As far as they did in that first year, or in Peppers' rookie year, the tight ends just ran wild against this team. I mean, there was nothing to stop that middle pass to a tight end. So I would think Greg Williams did that because he had no faith at all in his corners that year, and maybe they'll be able to put together a more respectable secondary in New York.
We just automatically assume that Greg Williams did a great job as a defensive coordinator. He might have done an okay job as the interim head coach, but he didn't do a good job as a defense.
No, I think they got that reputation early, Les, because they were turning the ball. They were
causing turnovers.
They were getting a lot of turnovers, causing them sometimes just taking advantage of poor execution on offenses, on the part of offenses. So, but they did get worse after he moved to the head coaching position, and that was not. It just was not a very good defensive team. And I know people say, well, you can't go by yards per game, you go by points. Okay, if you want to say that, and they were middle of the road, I guess I'll give you that. But that was not a great defense. There's still a lot of room for improvement there.
Okay, as we get closer to things happening in the NFL, do you think we are overrating what the Browns did in the last half of the season?
I don't.
I mean, we're all thrilled about what this could be.
Yeah, I think we might be, from a win-loss standpoint, we might be overrating it because they only did go 5-3 and they didn't beat any teams with winning records.
Right.
So from that standpoint, but I think we saw the way the manner in which they competed and the way they went about it.
They could have won some other games.
Could have won some other games and lead you to believe that with a little more experience and playing together another year, they're going to be even better. And not even taking into account what they've added to this team offensively. And I'm talking halfway through the season, if a fresh-legged Kareem Hunt walks in here, and suddenly you got Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Beckham and Landry and some of those guys, it's going to and that's assuming guys like Callaway are going to get a little better. Njoku, I think, should have a good year because of how much attention teams are going to have to pay Beckham.
Yeah, well, it's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah, I think when you look at the roster, you say this is the most talented roster in the division, and I don't think anybody would really argue that.
Right.
So based on that, I don't think people are getting too carried away, but they might be getting a little carried away based on going 5-3 against teams with losing records.
216-575-0403. Bud Shaw with us. Dennis Maniloff, normally on Thursdays, will be here tomorrow because of a scheduling situation for his radio show. And coming up, we're going to talk some baseball. Francisco Lindor in the lineup tonight. Columbus Clippers are on the road down in Louisville. And the shortstop will be Francisco Lindor. Hopefully he won't be there too long, and he'll be back up in a Cleveland Indians uniform. So we'll talk about that when we get back. Let's check out the voicemail of Truth and Reason. And you can call 216-200-6650. Call anytime, 24 hours a day. The voicemail of Truth and Reason in Cleveland sports. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment with Bud Shaw, exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
This day in sports history brought to you by Smiley One. They're the people who take care of my furnace, air conditioning, and everything else I need. April 16th, 1940, Bob Feller pitches a no-hitter on opening day against the White Sox. Indians win by a score of 1-0. And, Bud, the time of that game, what do you think? Take a guess. No TV,
I'll
obviously.
say an hour and 56 minutes.
It was 2 hours and 24 minutes for only one run in the game.
Wow.
But it was
And
freezing.
did everybody get on Twitter back then and complain that the lineup that the Indians couldn't hit?
Not a one.
Oh, okay.
Not a one. So we'll talk about this. This came in yesterday near the end of the show, and I said let's hold it until tomorrow. This is before yesterday's win for the Indians. It's from Cleveland Bill. He says the Tribe's worst performances so far have been against Central Division foes: Minnesota 1-2, Kansas City 0-3 for a 1-5 division start. I don't know. They played the White Sox also. That's giving confidence to your most frequent opponents. If Seattle drubs off, it may set off a terrible slide. It said you can't win the pennant in April, but you can lose it. The Tribe looks like it's about to lose their chances in these weeks. I think everybody's overreacting
Well,
to
I mean,
game
you
by
just
game.
said it. They beat the White Sox 2 out of the first 3 games. So
Right.
it's not a 1-5 record. Granted, it's not a real impressive record. I think what would it make? 3-6, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's so early, and I know nobody wants to hear that, but Lindor's not back yet. Kipnis got an RBI in his first at bat. Not that
I just want to say
expect-
Cargo got a hit too.
Carlos
like the name.
Gonzalez got a hit. I mean, do I think that they have a lineup that's going to win a World Series? I don't. But do I think it's a little early to say that they're on the brink of losing, of not being a playoff team? No, not.
If you could take all of those players and plug in their best years, you'd have one heck of a team.
Yeah, you would. I mean, hey, listen, I'm not. What's my word? I don't know. I don't even have the words anymore.
Give me a hint.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the notion that we've maybe seen the best of Corey Kluber. You know, I mean, maybe that. Who knows? But I'm just saying that's another reason why we can't decide things quite too early here. I have more concern about Kluber because of the velocity and the lack of velocity that you see in the last start. But is that to say that he can't win 15 games? I wouldn't make
we
that
had
bet
Hall
right
of Fame
now.
sports writer Sheldon Oker on last night, and he's concerned with Kluber because they've been applying gel to him, and applying gel seems to be to cut the pain down as opposed to doing anything about whatever might be injured.
Well, we saw him pitch deep into 2 seasons and show up not his best at the end. So whatever they're doing, they should try to ensure that he's ready in August and September and not so much worry about June, July, and August.
Lindor will be wearing a Columbus Clippers uniform tonight. He'll be in the lineup down in Louisville, Kentucky. Let's take a look at what his replacements. Well, here's the lineup for tonight. But wait till you see the replacements stats. Oscar Mercado, some people think he should be up here. Lindor batting second. Cameron Maben batting third. Ryan Flaherty. Jordan Luplow just sent down by the Indians. Bobby Bradley sixth. Eric Haas, the catcher. Trace Thompson. His brother plays pretty good basketball. And Mark Mathias is the third baseman in tonight's lineup. How about the shortstop they've used, Bud? Eric Stamets and Max Moroff. Look at these numbers. 2 for Stamets, a couple of hits, each of them with a couple of hits. 2 for 41 and 2 for 26. How about the strikeouts? Unbelievable. 24 strikeouts for Stamets in 49 appearances. And for Moroff, 13 in 26. That's 50% there, and Stamets is, I think we figured out 49% strikeouts.
If you like to think that one player cannot make that big of a difference, keep in mind that one player is Lindor, and then look at those numbers.
I don't know what. I don't claim to be a scout. I'm not a major league guy, not a former player, but at that level. But somebody saw something in these guys, and I don't see what somebody saw.
Well, I think in Stamets, at least the reports I read were that he was basically John McDonald, that he's going to give you a great glove until Lindor gets back.
Well, I haven't even seen that.
But he is a good defensive shortstop, and he's just overmatched right now at the plate as a young player, and it's happened before to guys.
What did you think about the going out the door Miller? What he said? What did you think of it? Frustration or?
Listen, I understand these guys get frustrated, and he's looking, and he's so far produced in only 40 at bats. But he is a left-handed hitting second baseman, and he had to know all along that the only reason he was here is that Kipnis was hurt.
Yeah, he said he wouldn't have signed here unless he thought it was a good situation.
Well, what did he think was going to happen when Kipnis came back? No. That he'd be back up to Brad Miller? I mean, that's a little unrealistic.
I don't think I've ever heard that from a veteran guy. I hear frustration from rookies who don't understand how this game is played. Miller probably would have been brought up somewhere along the line in the season, but that's not going to happen now.
No, I'm pretty sure they were disappointed, to put it mildly, in his reaction. And I don't think his reaction would keep another team from signing him if he's a
probably
fit
not.
in their roster.
Here's what concerns me about this, that you've got guys. All these guys have had that we've just mentioned. And, I know Stamets hadn't had a hit till this year, but the other guys, Luplow and Moroff, some of these guys have been around the major leagues. You would think that this is exactly what they're waiting for: a team that has a chance to go places with problems in the infield, and they are the guys right on hand, on the bench, in the locker room, whatever. They are the guys. If they just show something, they can have themselves a utility job for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's exactly how they feel, and that's probably why they're both pressing even harder right now to figure out what's going on.
216-575-0403 if you'd like to get in on the action. Bud Shaw with us tomorrow night, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff. When we get back, we'll listen to the voice of truth, the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sokolowski's University Inn. Bud, you were with Bernie the other day. Is there a better guy than Bernie? His brother Mike wasn't there, but these are phenomenal people.
Yeah, he's a hilarious guy, too. It was a great time to be sitting at a table with him. Watching you, by the way, get an Excellence in Broadcasting Award.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. But the Excellence in Restaurants is by Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. And people say, why do they call it the University Inn? Do you know that answer?
I don't.
Well, back 100 years ago, that area, which is now Tremont, was supposed to be the home of what is now Case Western Reserve. Huh. So if you go around in Tremont, you've got Professor Avenue, you've got College, Literary, and a whole bunch of other names like Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More sports and less Levine seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of April and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Let's take a look at this date in Les Levine history. April 16, 1964. Shaker Heights veteran third base coach Fred Heinlein and manager of Shaker Heights says, Levine, you talk a better game than you play. Now there's a man who knew his talent.
Absolutely. I just want to say, Cookie, lend me your comb. Does anybody out there know what that means?
No.
Anyone, please.
Oh, John does.
Someone.
Is it something?
Someone.
Why,
Throw me a bone here.
Where did that come from?
77 Sunset Strip.
Oh, Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
So why does it apply
Or so
here?
people tell me. Because of that hair that you had. It was like
that hair is perfect.
Brill cream.
So put that hair up again. I made every payment on that hair. Apparently, there you go. What is wrong with that hair?
It's a pompadour. It's a Brill cream infused pompadour.
It is Brill cream, I must admit. Is Brill cream still out there?
I doubt it.
Can I just get a dab of it?
A little dab will do you, actually.
A little dab will do you, no question about that. All right, you have breaking news here. By the way, every TV show, every news show has breaking news. Can't somebody come up with a different name from that to differentiate breaking news?
I don't mind a different name. I would just like a little bit of a. Could we do some kind of a drum roll or something?
All right, I'll do a drum roll. Breaking news.
Okay. I don't know if this actually warrants a drum roll. Eric Stamitz,
who you
just trashed, was sent down to Columbus, and they have recalled Mike Freeman, ladies and gentlemen. That's Mike Freeman.
Mike Freeman. All right. So, obviously, Chris Antonetti watches the show.
Obviously, he watches the show. He looked up and saw those numbers and said,
right, out of here.
Out of here.
He probably said, I didn't know those guys struck out so much.
Yeah. You know, hey, sometimes guys
obviously... Wait a minute. Out of the two, how do they keep more off?
Well, he only struck out 13 times versus 24.
26.
So
I shouldn't laugh because any guy who played in the major leagues, no matter what their numbers are 50 times better than any guy I ever played with or against.
I remember when we were subjected to watching replacement players in the 95 spring training and just seeing the difference between guys that could play in the big leagues and who couldn't.
Right.
People in Louisville are going to see it tonight when they look out and Frankie Lindor's at short playing with everybody else there who's probably, many of whom won't ever see the bigs. So, yeah, poor Eric Stamitz. I mean, it's a tough situation to start a season without getting on base, and it just sort of
look how quick we get that
snowballs on you. So Mike Freeman in Columbus, 5 hits and 24 at-bats, 208 average.
Could you imagine Miller
3 home runs.
Miller saying, Mike Freeman?
3 home runs and 3 RBI.
Oh, bring him up while he's hot. No question about that.
That's the kind of power this team's looking for. 3 homers and 24 at-bats, that's pretty good.
Because you have this thing going back and forth between Cleveland and Columbus, they don't have to introduce themselves when they get in a locker room. Hey, Mike, how are you? Good to see you. It's been 3 days since I last saw you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to listen to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Ron Byer is my friend from Fremont, Ohio. Ron, what do you have to say?
Hi, Les. This is Ron Byer. Hey, do you think there is a major lack of interest and involvement in baseball by the younger generation now, which is creating a lack of all-around good baseball skilled ball players making it to the major leagues?
Well, there might be something to that. You know, I'm watching the game last night. It was Jackie Robinson Day. Everybody wearing number 42, and I'm looking at 5 different guys on the Indians, and I'm saying, who is that guy?
Yeah, I mean, what I read is that the minority representation at the major leagues is still low.
I think it's 7%.
It's better in the minors, so I think they've done a better job of trying to get, say, city kids into playing baseball.
Yeah, but are they suggesting they're keeping them out?
What's that?
Are the detractors suggesting that Major League's
No, not at all. I
out?
just think that it's not a sport that kids grow up playing,
right.
especially in urban areas. So I think they're trying to improve that.
I got a suggestion.
To his other point about guys showing up not being as fundamentally good as they were back in the day.
Right.
I mean, it sounds like an old man to say it, but it's true. I mean, that's not. Those skills aren't as, bunting. I mean, and base running and hitting the inside of the bag when you're making the turn. I don't think that's something that they teach it, but they don't obsess over it the way we used to.
I'd like to make a suggestion to all races and creeds here. Mike Trout. Okay.
Wait a second. What?
$400 million.
Oh, yeah. Right. Come play baseball
forget about basketball and football. Baseball.
Good point.
You don't get hurt as bad. You get guaranteed money.
Well, there's a story out right now, Les, that the Oakland A's tried to sweeten the pot by $14 million for Kyler Murray to convince him to play baseball, and he still decided to go football. Now,
what's the matter with that guy?
Did he love football more, or does he see football as a more sure thing? It's
sure thing. Money-wise, baseball's guaranteed.
Well, that's guaranteed for sure, but I mean, just as a
career.
You
mean he thinks he's better at football than he would be at baseball?
Well, it's certainly going to take him longer. He's not going to walk off the campus and walk into a Major League Baseball stadium. And sometimes these guys get down there and they find out it's not nearly as easy as it used to be in college.
You talk about fundamentals. The other night, the other afternoon, there was a play with Greg Allen. He was on first base, and there was a hit to left field. The play's in front of him. And the tying run's coming around third. Thank goodness, it didn't matter, they lost. But at least the guy was hustling coming down third. But you look at it and said, wait a minute, I knew that in junior high not to run in that situation.
Yeah, unless he assumed that throw's going home, but you can't assume that.
No, you can't assume that at all. All right, Indians come back home. They've got the Florida Marlins. You look at this, I mean, yeah, it's frustrating. But you look and see what the Boston Red Sox are doing. You see some of these other teams. How do you explain what Boston's doing?
Yeah, what are they? They're way under 500 right now. I just looked at their record this morning, and I forgot. You and I did what you like to call the lucrative speaking engagement last week, and there were a couple of fans there who were, I don't want to say hostile, but they were. They were saying, like, why are you guys being so optimistic, or why are you so forgiving about the Indians? This is the worst lineup I've ever seen. Now, you have said for a while now that the lineup's not any good. I know that. But I think you and I are looking at later in the summer and thinking. It's not a
game-by-game situation.
Yeah, and it's not a football. It's so obvious to say. I feel like an idiot even saying it. But it's not a football situation where every game gets dissected and grand conclusions can be drawn from each one. You can't.
No, you can't. You got to go week at a time.
2 months after if they go 2 months with Lindor in the lineup, with Kipnis playing, with Gonzalez playing, with Hanley Ramirez staying in there, and they're still struggling to get runs, then I think it'll be a pretty good indication that they're going to have to make a big move at the All-Star break or at the trade deadline, and it's going to be an indication that they're in trouble, that they're not going to win anything.
Yeah, they're letting this play out here for the next month or two just to see. However, when they came out of spring training with Stamets, and they knew Stamets was just to fill in for Lindor. So here we are, not even a month into it, and they unload Stamets. So they are watching it closely. They're not going to let it just get itself out of hand.
Well, I mean, the other option would have been bringing in a legitimate shortstop to take over. And Lindor, we thought at one point, might even come back for opening day. So if he had been out for they knew they weren't getting him back till July, they may have handled it a little bit differently.
My gut feeling is they think he's coming back in the
I
next
just listen.
week.
I just think this is a really talented front office here. I think they're smart. I know they have restrictions. I know it's not all about the front office, but you know they've won 3 straight division titles. And if somebody goes, "Oh, well, the division's terrible," well, it's terrible this year too.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways and say they only won it because the division was terrible. But even though the division's terrible, they're still not going to make the playoffs this year. You can't say that.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just not fair.
One more segment to go. If you want to get in, 216-575-0403. You can catch the excitement of live harness racing, and you can catch that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday evening with a post time of 6 p.m. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. You've got the Road to the Derby contest every Saturday through April 20th. That's coming up this Saturday. You can scout the Kentucky Derby contenders with a chance to win some cash, all at Northfield Park, where it's free admission, free parking every day. Bud Shaw and I return one more time. We're seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, Naturestone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Naturestone installed in your home by the end of April and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will join us. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more sports and less Levine. New content is posted each and every day. All right, we're getting into a trend here, Bud.
Okay.
John Patrick now is up to sending us two quickies a day. I think he's playing the odds, at least because we grade them. And one of them, you know, is going to be good. And if the second one is good, that puts things over the top. He says, "Hi, Les and Bud, you graded my quickies 8.5 yesterday. Try these. How come when the Mexican magician was doing his trick, he said, 'Uno, dos,' and disappeared without a trace?"
Les, this is right up your alley.
How come they don't make mouse-flavored cat food? Okay, both from John. What do we give him? Well, yesterday was 8.5. You weren't here. Without knowing that.
I'll say 9.
9?
Yeah, I think I was a 9.
Mr. Gullible sends in a couple. This is becoming trendy. How come this woman said she recognized me from the vegetarian club, but I never met her before?
Oh,
how
that's
come
a little painful.
How come the dyslexic man walked into a bra? I don't know. Cleveland Bill says, thinking back on Bud's opening commentary, we should note that based on wins in majors by competitors, Nicklaus faced tougher competition from his cohorts than Woods has. Nicklaus won 18 majors and had 18 runner-up finishes, but faced a top 6 group of competitors that won 39 majors. Let's not confuse this with the facts.
Well, no, what I said was that the field's deeper. I didn't say it's necessarily less filled with stars. I mean, there were stars back there.
Well, he
obviously
says Nicklaus faced player who had 9 majors, Watson 8, Palmer 7, and Trevino 6.
They won all those because the fields were so not as deep.
Sevy had 5 and Floyd had 4. These players did not choke under pressure the way Duvall and others have for Woods. Well, choking under pressure, you got to give Woods credit for that. If the other guys choke under pressure, it's because he's so dominating that there's a mental aspect of the game also.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I would probably put Jack ahead of Tiger still. I mean, as greatest golfer of all time.
All right, I wrote a column this week saying that both Tiger and LeBron are chasing the GOAT, becoming the greatest of all time. And until Tiger gets 18 or 19, and until LeBron wins maybe 2 more, they're not going to be the GOAT.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be looked at that way. I think just watching LeBron's game, he's better in a bunch of ways than Jordan was.
Okay.
Sharing, seeing the court, sharing the ball, rebounder. Not as good defensively, I don't think.
Right. Who do you want with the ball at the end of the game?
I would take Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess you'd have to. But Jordan gave the ball up too in situations like that.
He did occasionally, as Steve Kerr was the recipient of one of those.
Right.
It's a really tough call. But LeBron again is not done yet. Maybe it looks like he's done now, based on what happened in LA as far as winning titles.
Yeah, winning titles.
But who knows?
He's still, other than the groin injury, I don't think he's lost it that way.
No, I mean he looks a little heavier this year. I don't know if it's
Maybe.
because he sat out 19 games or whatever it was in the middle of the year. But he did look a little. He's still really explosive, but he did look a little bit heavier than he normally does.
Do you think there's a part of him that says, "Why did I do this?"
I looked up something the other day, Les, about Space Jam, about one of his movies, and it's only one of the things he's doing out there. He's got like 9 or 10 movies in production right now in LA.
So,
and I'm not saying that should count for more than winning championships. I just think that we ought to keep in mind that he may have had other reasons for wanting to go to LA in addition to winning.
We clearly know that. On the other hand, he's known for letting his teammates know that they're not necessarily concentrating on the game at hand, which I think it's fair to say he's not either.
Well, I don't know how heavily involved he is in those things during the season, but I think that team suffered this year from the Anthony Davis dalliance, if you want to call it that.
Because they named names?
Because I think LeBron was one of the guys that was pushing the organization to get Anthony Davis which any of us would.
Sure.
But, those young guys probably felt like they didn't mean as much to him. And then when that passed, he turned around and said, "Come on, let's go. We need you to win here."
I heard Pat Williams today on radio. Pat is the, I'm not sure what his title is, vice president maybe of the Orlando Magic. I had him on the show. One of the best guests I've ever had.
Yeah, he's a terrific
He's
interview.
got 19 kids.
He was in Philly as a GM at the time with the Sixers.
And he said Shaq, when Shaq was in Orlando, Shaq's agent called him every day to complain about what was going on. And basically he's talking to Pat and saying, you got to get Shaq the ball more often. Well, I'm not the coach.
Yeah. I think if somebody ever wrote that book of just how high maintenance and demanding the NBA superstar is on an organization, I think it would be really eye-opening. I think people have a sense that they get what they want, they get their way. But I think on a daily basis, it's a pretty high-maintenance relationship.
Give me another ticket
with
on the
a lot
plane
of these
for
guys.
somebody.
Not with a guy like Tim Duncan, obviously.
Right.
There are guys that probably. I don't know what it's like with Steph Curry. He strikes me as a guy who's probably not like that.
Is it fair to say from the outside that it's not that bad in baseball and football?
Yeah, I just think it's the nature of that sport. There's one great player that you want the ball in his hand at the end of every game, and it's not the same with those other sports.
All right, we made it till the end. Thanks to Bud Shaw.
Wow.
You can hear him on WKYC.com or read him on .com, and we'll see. You'll be. I'm giving you a well-deserved vacation next week.
Yeah,
Don't try to get in here under any circumstances.
I may call.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Because now I can watch it. I'll be in Indiana, but I can watch it online.
Excellent. I'm sure you will do that. Thanks to the great Bud Shaw, Dennis Maniloff tomorrow night. You see us Monday through Friday from 6 until 7 Eastern Time right here, exclusively on cleveland.com. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.